What is going on, fantasy holics around the world? Welcome. It's about that time. We're here. We've made it to week one of the 2021 NFL season. I'm excited. I know you're excited. I mean, listen, I had a rough day. I'll be honest. Today has just gotten away from me. It's been all over the place. I honestly thought I was going to come in here with low energy and wing it. But now that we're here, now that the
It's
lights is
there.
on, now that I'm on camera, now that I'm behind the mic, I just got this rush of adrenaline. Now I might crash after the show. I don't know if I'll make it through tonight's game, but I got the energy right now. We're here. We're ready to go. Welcome to Week One Fantasy Preview. I got my man. I got the legend OG Crush in the building. What's going on with you, Crush? Say hello to the people.
Hey guys, how you doing? Week one's finally here. I'm ready.
Ready, man. Ready, man. Before we get started, give us a follow, FantasyHolics, on Facebook and Instagram. That's where you'll be plugged in with us to get all of your fantasy advice. Our YouTube channel is up and running now, so we'll be dropping more content on there. We'll give you live videos like this podcast episode here. We'll give you some pre-recorded things, just dropping a whole lot of content. We're working in the backgrounds, getting things together. The ideas are flowing. Now we're just putting it together in a nice, beautiful package for you, the viewers. So just tap in with us on all of those social media aspects there. Not going to keep you long. I know everybody's got a long night. They got to finish some things up at work. Got to make sure the wives and the kids and the girlfriends are all good. And they got to make sure they got the beers ice chilled. They got the wings and the pizza on deck because we got a game to get to tonight. So we just want to come give you a few tips, give you some insight of what we're thinking with this first week of the NFL fantasy season. And Crush, we're going to start with some draft strategy. We had some articles come out. We did an episode about draft strategy. But the draft strategy that I want to talk about is draft strategies for folks who will be drafting in leagues after one. There are leagues start, before the start of the NFL season, and sometimes leagues that start after week one, after week two, after week three. There are some late bloomers in the fantasy world, some guys who try to get a head start on the landscape. We see around the NFL every year through training camp, preseason. There are injuries. Obviously, notable comes to mind J.K. Dobbins with the Baltimore Ravens, tore his ACL. That's near and dear to my heart because I drafted J.K. Dobbins and I had to let him go. I picked up his teammate Gus Edwards, who was a free agent, and now he might have tore his ACL. So my running back room is looking a little shaky right now. So for people who are nervous about things like that, or who see what happened to Saquon Barkley last year in week two, what strategies do you have for people who are hesitant to draft before the start of the season?
Well, first I want to say I'm always on the opposite end of that. I'm always actually drafting too early. So I've had the Andrew Luck situation. You remember that?
Yeah.
Where he retired. Yep. I drafted him pretty early. Rookie mistake on my part. But, yep, I lost him. But anyways, back to the late strategy. I still think that you still want to go with your original draft strategy even before you start the season, because even some of these studs that you're going to be drafting, like Kamara, even Barkley, they might start off slow, but the production is going to be there, and they're going to get their touches. So honestly, I just say tried and true. That's just the way I would go about it.
Now, what things would you be looking for? Say if your draft isn't until before the start of week 4, so you got weeks 1, 2, and 3. You got 3 weeks of film. We know that in the NFL, offense and defenses, they watch film of the previous week team to get prepared. So me as the fantasy owner, I have 3 weeks of film to get me prepared for my draft before the start of week 4, as an example. What should I be looking for game to game, week to week, to help me set my draft board? What tendencies should I be looking for? What, somebody going on a hot streak, should I move them up my boards? Say if Derrick Henry in week 1 rushes for 215 yards. And in week 2, he rushes for 185 yards. Should I put him above a Christian McCaffrey? Should I put him above a Dalvin Cook or a Travis Kelce? Like, what should we be looking for? What things should we focus on? And what things should we be worried about to not get too excited about?
Definitely. So some of the things you should look out for is consistency. That's the main thing I look for in any of my players. As long as they're not, going for like 150 yards one game and then 8 the next, just the constant up and downs. Those are the kind of players I try to avoid actively. But the people who are constantly getting fed the ball, your playmakers, the ones that you want to get in space, the ones that have those big play potential, those are the kinds of players I want to get on my team.
So basically what you're telling me is if Sam Darnold goes off in week 1, that revenge game against the Jets and throws for 400 yards, don't immediately shoot him up my draft board and take him in round 2, 3, or 4. Don't do that.
I wouldn't do that. I would advise against that just because he might have a little more incentive that week 1 game. I'm just saying, but the rest of the season he might just flop. But as far as consistency goes, we've seen it these past 2 seasons. You've seen, what was it, Sammy Watkins? I think it was. He had hot week 1s, man. 2 stellar week 1s, and then what does he follow it up with? So those are the kinds of people you want to watch out for. Like I said, those inconsistencies will bite you.
Absolutely. So speaking of that, once we get our drafts done, whether we've done them early, right before week 1, or we're a late bloomer, what tips and tricks or strategies do you have for watching that free agent pool, for going through that waiver wire? Obviously, there are going to be players that, hit a wall and they may not be doing as well as you anticipated them to do. There may be other players that get hot and you might want to, grab on a guy who has some favorable matchups and you can see them rolling and catching fire. What tips and tricks do you have for watching that free agency pool and going through your waiver wire?
Right. So I do like to look at schedules as far as if there's a wide receiver that is getting hot and he's facing some pretty terrible defenses, I think I might take a look at him. But there's also something you got to watch out for. Don't chase points. That's something that a lot of people tend to do. Like if someone has a really, really great week, they'll just pick him up automatically and oh yeah, he'll match his production from last week. Well, if he's facing a really good defense, then odds are that might not happen, and then you lose a spot from your waiver. It's just kind of stuff like that you got to watch out for. Just do your research, make sure that they actually have a pretty decent schedule and that they're actually getting fed the ball, and always look out for injuries, and it's going to be the next man up as far as fantasy football goes, just like on the football field, basically. But yeah.
So if you can, from your own personal experience, because I want to stay here a little bit because what you say makes a lot of sense. So if I see somebody who gets hot playing the Detroit Lions, and then I know the next week they play against that Tampa Bay defense, yeah, maybe I may not go and chase those points. Maybe after that they play, I don't know, the Bengals and another poor defense out there. Let's say the Eagles, right? Then you follow that. But what helps you make that decision beyond schedule? Because you can look at schedule and see, okay, this 1 week may not be favorable against this top 5 defense, but then the following 2 may be, or maybe there's 2 or 3 straight weeks where he doesn't play a solid defense. He plays a solid defense, but the rest of the schedule is easy. Like what also plays in a deciding factor in either going after that player, knowing their potential, and not chasing points. Because you can get into a situation where you want to play safe, you don't chase those points, but then somebody else, takes that gamble, picks up that player, and now later on in the season, they're reaping those benefits. So, what do you weigh to help you make that decision so that you don't potentially lose out on a player that could help you win a championship?
Right. I mean, I play with some people too that they don't chase points either. So usually that one player that has a really good game, he'll usually stay on my waiver. But not everyone has those kinds of people in their leagues. But you have to see if they actually have opportunities, like when the offense is on the field. You have to see if they're getting the ball, if there's injuries on the team. You have to see the potential for yourself, basically. So that's what I do. I like to see the potential, and that's what I really go for. The schedule, obviously a big part of it for me, but that's neither here nor there. If you think you have a league winner, then you got to take your shot, man. There's no sense to me in just letting it just sit there.
Now, another follow-up question that I have, I'm trying to figure out how I want to phrase this. As you're watching the games and as you're checking to see, the opportunities that they have, you're checking to see injuries on the team because, if there's injury to a guy ahead of him, obviously, then that means next man up, he'll be utilized a little bit more.
Right.
For running backs, is there a particular number of carries that you're looking for to try to justify that utilization? Is it 10 carries a game, 15, 20 carries a game? Is there a particular number that you're looking for to say, okay, this guy may not be the starter, but because the starter went down, of the available backups on this team, this guy is getting the most carries. He may be the third string on the depth chart, but because he's playing better, he gets bumped up and he's getting more of those carries. So for running backs, is there a particular number that you like to look for to justify utilization?
I say yeah, but I don't want to go as far as 10 because there are some home run hitters in the NFL. They'll only need 4 or 5 carries just to break off a big run. There are some pretty capable running backs in the NFL, but I do like to see, because most of my formats I do PPR. So not only do I like to see the carries, but I like to see the catches. So just getting those opportunities, even if the starter is tired or something like that, if they are getting those touches or carries around the end zone, then that's something I want.
Absolutely. Makes a lot of sense, especially in PPR. So if they're getting those carries, but also if they're getting those targets out of the backfield, that's also a plus. Along the same lines, for wide receivers and tight ends, is there a particular number of targets that you're looking for to them to get the game? Obviously, we know based on whatever defense that they're playing, whatever the offensive game plan is, that will fluctuate. But to justify utilization and taking a gamble or a risk on a waiver wire player, is there a certain number of targets that you're looking for? Anywhere between 3 to 6 or 6 to 9. Is that something that you're also looking for to see? Okay, this guy, even though he's a backup, he's consistently getting 4+ targets a game.
Yeah, and you just said it right there. What I look for, if I'm looking on the waiver wire, is consistency. If he's getting 4 or 5 catches a game for 50+ yards, and I have someone out for a bye week, I might just plug him in for the week, because at least I know that he's at least going to get those 4 looks, and he might break one off or might get a touchdown. So definitely consistency is key for the wide receiver position.
Awesome. Absolutely. Let's move to another really, really good topic. And let's have some fun with this one, because I know there's some people that got some gripes and got some really, really good stories.
All right.
Let's talk proper trade etiquette and negotiation. One of the things that I'm sick of people just sending me trades. Didn't reach out to me, didn't talk, didn't say, I'm looking at this player. Is there somebody on my team that you would like? Is there something that we could work out? Don't just send me a trade, because I know that when you send me that trade, it's going to be so garbage. You send me the worst of your worst, the people who you can't stand, and you're trying to get one of my best players. And sometimes in some leagues, and I've seen this before in 2 leagues that I were in the past, somebody will send a trade without saying anything, and then the other person accidentally accept, like they went in and saw that a trade was there and accidentally accepted it.
That is
And then there's this
rough.
whole big issue of sending the players back, and then they wouldn't know it. It gets messy real fast.
Yes,
Don't
it
send
does.
me a trade without talking to me first. So let's talk about it. What is proper trade etiquette in a fantasy football league?
Well, like you said, I mean, I think communication is definitely key. Um, yeah, just I agree with you 100%. Don't just send me a trade. Odds are it's going to be 3 of your bench players for one of my starters, and I'm going to say no. And then you're going to get upset. And then there's going to be beef that didn't even need to happen. All right. So now you're upset. I'm upset. It's just not a good situation for anybody. Honestly, just reach out to me. Honestly, I think it's not hard to look at the other team's needs. Obviously, you can take a look at their players when you go down through the season. If they're not playing up to par, but if you have a feeling that, they might turn the tide sometime soon, why not offer them something? Say, hey, send a text, hey, I noticed this guy isn't doing so well for you. Why don't we discuss a trade? See what you need. I'll tell you what I need. It's all about communication, man.
Absolutely. Tell me what you need. I'll tell you what I need. Maybe we can work something out. Maybe we can't. But don't just send me a trade. Now, obviously, beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? So without using the system that you're using your fantasy draft in, whether it be NFL.com, Yahoo, ESPN, whatever means you use to run your fantasy league, how do you determine fair value for a trade? Because I may value something a little bit more than you do and vice versa. So how do we come to equal ground when it comes to a fair value for a trade? Because that's one thing that, it rubs me the wrong way every year, where two people, make a trade and, 85% of leagues are, oh, that guy doesn't know what he's doing. He got fleeced.
Yep.
But then to him, he's arguing against everybody else who's calling him a fool for making a trade and saying, this is what I wanted. I know what I'm doing. This is what I like. So how do we come to fair market value for trades when we have different value on different things?
Right. Yeah. Well, as far as value goes, I mean, in PPR formats, obviously running backs are pretty valuable, especially the high-end ones. You're talking to your Dalvin Cook, your Austin Eckler's, your CMCs, obviously, when he's healthy. But no, usually what I do, this is just me, I'll do some research on the players, take a look at their schedules, take a look at their projections, see their strength of schedule and how they've been doing up until that point. If they have been inconsistent, maybe I'm tired of it. Maybe their value goes down, at least to the other person. But still, for me, it's CMC. The value is still jacked up, man. I don't care if he has 10 terrible games in a row. That value is still sky high for me. And that's the problem with no communication. You just have to try to talk to the person. Hey, this guy's been really struggling for you. I don't see him getting out of that run anytime soon. Is there any way we can talk this price down? And it honestly goes back to communication. It's the most hilarious thing ever. I keep comparing this to a relationship with like a girlfriend or something like that. You have to talk to them. You got to talk to them. You might not want to sometimes.
Oh,
but you
man.
got to talk to them.
Listen, when you talked about negotiating and bringing the price down, I thought of my wife every time we go into Target. Every time we go into Target, she said, "Oh, I'm just in here for a few things."
Oh, it
Then a
never
few
ends up that
things
way.
turns into a full cart, and I'm trying to negotiate. Babe, can we, put stuff back on the shelf? My
Or,
account said, I don't know if we get to the register, it might send us away. I don't. You got a lot of stuff in here, so I completely understand that. Understanding the value. Um, you know, a lot of people think fantasy football is hard and is too involved, and there are definitely certain pieces in it. But if you just understand the value of a player, who they are, what they can produce on the field,
right.
as Crush said, take a look at the schedules, see what they have coming up. Take a look at the strength of schedule. Take a look at the defenses that they're playing against. Are they bad defenses because they're bad in both run and pass? Do you have a favorable matchup with your running back because this defense is great against the pass, but it's horrible against the run, and vice versa? So you got to take a look at all of those things. We have a question from Jose here. He said, "I picked up Bell. I want to assume that's Le'Veon Bell. Is that good?" What would your answer be to that?
Uh, um, I think that is he still on the practice squad, or did they actually sign him to the 53-man roster?
If
I'm
they
not
didn't
sure.
sign him to the 53-man roster, he's going to be on the 53-man
He's going to
roster,
be it on it
especially
now.
if Gus Edwards tore his ACL.
So what I see him as, he might be like the kind of back that Avery used him for, maybe like a third down back, maybe catching passes out of the backfield, something like that. I don't see him necessarily as a bell cow. I think they might want to take a look and see what they get out of Tyson Williams, I believe it is. So, I mean, yeah, maybe. It depends on, how big your league is. If it's like a 10-team league, I don't think Le'Veon Bell is worth a pickup for me, just because I think there's going to be plenty more options out there available.
Yeah, I really don't know about that one. I don't know how much Lev Bell has in the tank and what he can provide to an offense. Now, if this offense can get hot, if Lamar, obviously we know Lamar Jackson is a weapon in the pass and in the running game. If Rashad Bateman can come back healthy, if Sammy Watkins can give you some consistency, you have Marquise Brown to stretch the field. You have Mark Andrews, man. They have weapons on the outside. This team has
Absolutely.
pass catchers. So because of that, because they have the pass catchers, maybe that does benefit someone like Le'Veon Bell, where he doesn't have to be the primary target in the passing game. He doesn't have to be the primary runner in the running game. Obviously, you don't want Lamar Jackson to be your primary runner. But in this type of situation where you lose your number one and number two backs to ACL injuries, Jack may have to do what he has to do.
Right.
So as long as, Le'Veon Bell, isn't expected to get 5+ yards a carry, if he can come in, get you some solid carries, help you move the ball, especially on 3rd and short in the goal line, and he can be a benefit in the pass game, then yeah, I think it is a good pickup. But you definitely have to watch, week 1 and week 2, especially week 1. Those first couple of weeks are going to be very telling. How he's used in that offense, how many snaps he gets, and then his utilization for those snaps. Is it mostly carries? Is he getting any passes out of the backfield? And then what does he do with it when the ball is in his hands? Okay, we're coming up on 25 minutes. This wasn't, intended to be a long show at all. I think we really got some good content in. Last topic of the evening before I let you go. We're going to candidates. So week 1, who are the players that you're looking at starting because of a favorable matchup? Who are some that you're looking at sitting because of an unfavorable matchup?
Yeah, definitely. So one of my favorite running backs to start this week. Who was it? I think it's definitely going to be, it might be an obvious choice of some, but James Robinson, I think that man is going to eat against that Houston defense. I mean, Houston might be the first
against that Houston what?
Defense.
The Houston what?
Right. I got it. It's not there, right?
Do they have an offense and a defense anymore? Like, are they even a football team anymore? Like, what?
Here's what they had to stop doing. They had to get rid of all their practice squad players because they kept beating them in practice. So, made them all feel bad. So they're like, okay, you guys got to go.
Yeah, I feel bad for Justin Reed. He's got to get out of there too.
Oh man, there's actually a few good players on that team that I actually like. That just are stuck. But let's see. As far as a running back for a sit, man, I got to tell you, I might get grilled for this one, but I do not like Josh Jacobs this week. I don't. I'm honestly worried about that backfield as a whole. Just because they picked up so many running backs, and they just keep on picking up running backs. I don't know what the reason behind that is. I think it doesn't bode well for Josh Jacobs, but usually when I say something like that, Josh Jacobs will go off.
No, but I think that's a good candidate, especially against a Baltimore Ravens team with all of these losses on the offensive side of the ball, and they also might have Mark Peters. This defense is going to have to step up in a big way to help this offense out, at least try to navigate through week one to figure out what they have with their running back situation, how, Lamar Jackson is going to handle, if he has to be the primary runner. So I think this defense is going to have a little bit more work on their plate to carry the load for this team while they figure out what they're going to do on the offensive side of the ball. So that means they're going to stop the run, and they're going to force Derek Carr to pass the ball. So I think that's a good candidate. Now, if I'm looking correctly, is that jersey a Lions jersey that you have on?
You caught me. It's a Kenny G jersey. He was my boy until they let him go, man.
Are you a Lions fan?
I'm not. I just got this because Kenny G was my favorite player, one of my favorite players.
Okay.
I'm a Denver Broncos fan.
Okay, cool. I was about to say we're enemies this week because I'm a 49ers fan. So I was going to say you don't want to sit DeAndre Swift versus the 49ers defense, but that's another stardom sit 'em for another day. What do you have for wide receivers?
So let's see. As far as wide receivers go, I want to start. Okay, honestly, I think I really like Bobby Trees this week. Sorry, Robert Woods. I call him Bobby Trees. Bobby Trees against Chicago.
Okay.
I think the Rams got a gunslinger in Matthew Stafford. I think that he's going to fit in that Sean McVay system really well. And I think that we're going to see Bobby Trees' production go way higher than it did last year. So I'm definitely starting him this week.
And sit candidate?
Sit candidate. Let's see. I am going to be sitting, I think, Jarvis Landry against the Chiefs.
Okay.
I think that they're going to be running the ball a lot. And I think that it's going to be one of those low-scoring affairs, maybe. I think the Browns' defense has improved. And obviously, if Tyrann Mathieu can play for the Chiefs, their defense is much improved as well. So, but I just don't like Landry this week. Just not a favorable matchup, in my opinion.
As for starting, if I'm excited about either one of the Panthers receivers, DJ Moore or Robbie Anderson. As I mentioned earlier, I think this is a revenge game for Sam Darnold. I think he's coming in there with the mindset of, I'm going to show you what you lost.
Right.
And I think he has a head coach and Matt Rule, who has that young spirit, who thinks he's one of the guys. I think he has a head coach in Matt Rule that says, do you want to hang a 50 burger on him? Like, let's go do it. I think he has the head coach that's like, you want to kill him? Let's kill him. Like, he has a head coach that's going to like egg him on to like do really, really good and absolutely destroy the Jets. So I really, really like those guys. Anybody for tight ends? We know the tight end market is after the top 5 or 6 guys, and there's a real big drop off in the tight ends. But any tight ends you looking at starting this week and sitting?
Yeah, that's tough. Like you said, there is a big drop off with tight end. Honestly, I think that one of the better tight ends that we'll see this week is might be Gerald Everett. I know that's a low hanging fruit right there. I'm telling you that, but the Seattle offense, they have DK Metcalf, they have Tyler Lockett. They can run the ball with Chris Carson. Gerald Everett gives you that big, tall target in the red zone. And I could see Russ tossing it up to him a few times. I think that he might be a pretty good start this week.
Before we get out of here, any other start candidates that you want the people to know? Kind of give them some advice on, doesn't matter position, whether it be quarterback, kicker, defense, any favorable matchups that you see that folks should be looking out for if they're not on the team and they're available in the free agent pool.
Well, first things first, if you're starting Tyrod Taylor, then I'm sorry, you're in trouble. Some favorable matchups. What I really like, I like the 49ers backfield this week. I really do. I really like Mostert this week. I think he's just going to go off, and I think you're going to see the Lions defense huddled over on the sideline, probably crying a little bit. There we go. I got you, man. I got you. I think another offense that I like this week, another run offense that I like this week. I'm going to be biased here. I like Denver. I like Melvin Gordon going out there. I think they're going to run him into the ground, man. I think they know what they got out of Javonte Williams, and I think they're just going to be able to pound the ball like constantly on this New York defense. I mean, it's an underrated defense. Don't get me wrong, but I really think Melvin Gordon is due for a pretty good game.
If there's one more player I would add to the sit, I would hope that Andy Dalton isn't your number one starting quarterback, but if he is, sit him down immediately,
please.
Because Aaron Donald is a different animal. So, if the hit that Justin Fields took in preseason was any precursor to what this offensive line is going to do, listen, I don't want to be anywhere near Andy Dalton.
No, sir.
I don't want to be anywhere near him. Last question before we get out of here. It's a question that I heard last night, and I want to get your opinion on it because some people are struggling with it. Someone said in a comment yesterday that they were trying to get Ryan Tannehill in the later rounds of the draft, but somebody, snuck in and grabbed him before he could get him. So his backup plan at that particular time and his best option on the board was Trevor Lawrence. How do you feel with Trevor Lawrence as your number one fantasy quarterback for the entire season?
Oof. That's tough. I think at least you're going to get 2 good games out of him against Houston. I know I'm dogging Houston. If there's any Texans fans watching, I'm sorry. It's this stuff just comes out. It's not intentional at all. But honestly, I think he's going to be all right. I think I'm going to go maybe top 20 as far as fantasy relevant quarterbacks go. I don't think he's going to do horrible, but I'm also not expecting him to put up 5,000 yards and 40 touchdowns. He's going to have his ups and downs. He's a rookie, but obviously week 1 he's going to have a pretty good start, pretty good chance to get off on the right foot.
Now, if they're free agents, would you take somebody like a Jared Goff or Sam Darnold as your number 1 quarterback over Trevor Lawrence?
No.
Okay.
No, not Goff. Although maybe, they are going to be throwing a lot because obviously they're going to be down, but when that kind of stuff happens, the defense tends to blitz a little more, that can cause many more mistakes. If interceptions cost you points in those leagues, then I might want to stay away from Goff. That's just my personal opinion. And sorry, who was the second one again?
Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold. Oof. He's actually got a lot of weapons though. He could dump it off to CMC and CMC could take it 80 yards. He's got Robbie Anderson. He's got DJ Moore. So I think maybe if you are kind of like leery about Trevor Lawrence, maybe take a look at Sam Darnold, but take a look at Sam Darnold week 2, not week 1, because obviously he's going to go off week 1. So if he does all right week 2, then maybe just take a flyer on him.
There you go. All right, man, that's going to do it. Thank you so much to OG Crush for hopping in and then being on this episode. We will have a fantasy preview every week of the NFL season up until the final weeks of playoffs and championship. We're giving you content just like this. We'll have a few topics to touch on, but we definitely want to see who's on the waiver wire. Go through some tendencies and see who's hot, see who's not, and find some stardom, some gems that may be on the waiver wire or in that free agency pool that you can add to give a boost to your team every single week of this 2021 NFL season. Let's get out of here, man. Let's go get those drinks ready. Make sure that they ice cold. Make sure the wings is heated up. Make sure that the cheese on the pizza is super melty. Let's get in front of the TVs. Let's kick off the shoes, kick the feet up. Make sure that the remote is in hand. The volume is all the way on 100. Let's get into it. This game, this is the moment that we have all been waiting for. The start of the 2021 NFL season is upon us in about 12 minutes. So I'm excited. Quick prediction. You got Dallas at Tampa Bay. Who you got tonight's game?
I mean, Dallas doesn't have an offensive line. It doesn't bode well for Dak Prescott or Zeke. That Tampa Bay defense is pretty good, I'd say. Holding the Chiefs to 9 points. I'm a Broncos fan. Sorry, I had to bring it up.
Oh yeah, rub it in their face. I hate the Chiefs.
9 points. That's all. Come on. No, I like Tampa Bay in this game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Cowboys are going to be better than they were last year. Obviously, having Dak back, if he can stay healthy and the rest of that offense and those weapons can stay healthy, they will definitely be better. I think this Dallas defense will be better under the leadership of Dan Quinn, a defensive coordinator now. Yeah, but that means nothing tonight against Tom Brady and the defending NFL champions. I mean, they brought back everybody. Like, this is the same team literally that they had a year ago. So they're a year better, a year older, a year wiser, more chemistry. I don't see them starting off slow. Dallas going 0-1 tonight. I'm taking the Buccaneers. Again, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for tuning in to FantasyHolics. We look forward to seeing you each and every week of this season as we bring this content to you. Again, thanks again, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Peace.